Good evening, Knicks family. Hope you enjoyed the holidays. The Knicks are 11-9, second in the division, seventh in the conference, coming off a 2-1 week. We got a lot to get into this week as we assess the first quarter of the season. I'm joined by Josh, Uncle Fulio from the Controversy, Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises. I'm not gonna even spend a lot of time with the intro. We got we got a lot to get into. I'm gonna bring the guys in and we're gonna get into it. Hello there, fellas. How are you?
Peace, Queen. Peace, Queen.
She got a little
Oh,
intro now. She's special now. Look at her. Ooh.
I'm moving up. I'm moving
Moving
up.
on up in the business.
Yeah. So we're gonna briefly go over last week's games. Then we're gonna get right into this 20 game assessment, and then hit the elephant in the room with the news, about Kimba. Right. So last week we were 2-1. We played the Lakers. LeBron served his 1 game suspension, so he wasn't available um, for the game. Westbrook 31 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists. AD 20 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Avery Bradley 15 points, 9 rebounds, 3 threes. But they only shot 37.4% from the field and only 30.6% from three. Rose and Mitch and Gibson was out. Fournier came up big, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 6 threes in that Laker game. Randall, 20 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists in that game. IQ with 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And we shot pretty well, 45.1% from the field, 44.1% from 3 point. As far as 3 pointers was concerned, we hit 15 out of 34 shots. The Knicks played very well. Good win for them, whether LeBron was out or not. Then Phoenix rolled into town. Rose and Gibson was out again. Mitch, this was his first game back from suffering a concussion. Phoenix came in, I believe, on a 13-game winning streak, firing on all cylinders and beat the Knicks handily. They were the better team coming in, and they showed it. The Knicks looked bad, but Phoenix had a lot to do with that. I'm going to give credit, where credit is due. Phoenix was just a better team. Booker, 32 points, 3 assists, 4 3-pointers, 8 and 14 points, 13 rebounds. And Chris Paul, who had the opportunity came up, I wasn't big on bringing him in because of his age. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. They shot 55.7% from the field and 46.4% from three. I mean, they were cooking. Kimba had 17 points, 3 rebounds, hit 3 threes in that game. He actually led us in scoring. IQ was 16 points, 4 assists, 3 threes. We shot 37% from the field, and only 30.8% from 3 point land. We took 39 3 pointers and only made 12. When we rolled into Atlanta, I got to be honest, I wasn't sure. I didn't think the Knicks, would win this game. Noel was out, Rose was out, Kemba was out. Um, Sims had to play, Grimes had to play, and they played very well. I think they earned the trust of the coaching staff in that game. If needed, they showed they can step in and contribute, and that's what you really want from your rookies. RJ played better, shot better from the field at least. Um, Hunter is out. He's injured for Atlanta. Young had 33.7 assists, 5 threes, and a few of them was like from half court. Capella, 16 points, 21 rebounds, 3 blocks. Wow. Collins, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks. But they only shot 35.5% from the field. And despite the five threes from Trae Young, only shot 24.3% um, from the 3 point line. Burke, 23.7 rebounds, 4 threes. He's just been balling out lately for us. Fournier, we had a Fournier sighting. He had 20 points, 2 rebounds. He hit 4 threes. RJ, 15.7 rebounds, but good efficiency, 54.5% from the field, but only 40% from the free throw line. As a team, we shot 43.9% from the field and 37.9% from the 3 point line. So we ended up, this season 2-1. Um, General observations from this past week before we get into assessing the first 20 games of the season.
Go ahead, Tom. You got it.
Um, well, first off, happy birthday shout out to Julius Randle.
Yes,
I
happy
forgot to
birthday,
mention that
Jules.
earlier. So shout out to Julius. Um, and shout out to me because I said we would be 2-1.
You
I
did.
said we lose to the Sun. This might be my first week of getting it right. So my observation is I mean it kind of happened the way I thought. Um, I'll start with the Atlanta game. One thing you left out, I believe he was Trey Young scoreless in the fourth quarter. So all
Oh,
that
okay.
damage he did was in 3 quarters. As far as the points,
Hmm.
um, observation is the bench is continuing to get better, be strong, um, win us games. I think you know. Um, Yeah, I mean that's the main observation. The bench has been doing what they've been doing since last year,
Right.
and it's still been somewhat of a struggle for Randall at times, for RJ at times. Um, Fournier, I think he had a big week this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Kind of stepped out of his slump, and I think we're still seeing slow improvement from Mitch, even though some people are still down on him. I think his rebounding is really getting to where it needs to be. And that's more important to me right now from him, defense and rebounding rather than scoring, and let that come when it comes. But I mean, those are the standouts for me.
Okay. Josh.
Well, obviously, yeah. Big ups to Tony Crow. He got it right. And Queen, once again, thank you for having me on.
Of course. Of course.
Listen, that Laker game, I thought that I was really upset with Tibbs because I felt like that little stretch where the Knicks were up by 25 and then we gave up a 21-3 run. I felt like Tibbs could have did a little bit better with the rotations. He left that starting group out there for the majority of that time. Didn't change that up at all, and he let the Lakers come back into the game. They had all the momentum. Despite quickly not shooting well in the first half of that game, I wanted to see that bench unit in there just to try to stop the Lakers' momentum a little bit, get a little bit of a faster unit on the floor. And he didn't do that. So he allowed the Lakers to come back into the game. And I personally feel like if the Lakers were a little bit younger and they weren't tired, they probably would have pulled that game out. So I was a little bit upset with Tibbs for that. Phoenix, obviously, they're just a different team. The Phoenix is just, they operate on all cylinders. A really great offensive team, and defensively, they're not too bad either. So you're going to see them in the Western Conference Finals probably this year. So I don't really take anything from that game, except the Knicks aren't at that level yet. And finally, the Atlanta game. We held Atlanta to 90 points after they came in with a 7-game winning streak. Trey Young did his thing. He was able to score and come off that pick and roll despite Alec Burks being out there. But we still held them to 90 points overall. We played really well that game. Got the young kids out there. So, I'm a little bit optimistic about what I seen from the Knicks last week.
Right.
And we're going to address the elephant in the room later in the show. But I really like what I saw from the Knicks during the past week.
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up really well. I don't really have much to add to that. I would just say I'm not as down on Tibbs as as you. I'm sorry, that was Cornerstone. He's supposed to be on the show, but I gave him the link. Can you send it to
I
him
got it.
again, Josh?
I got it.
Um, I'm not as down on Tibbs as a lot of Nick fans are. I know as a coach, sometimes you think something is going to work, and it just it just doesn't. You try different things, it just doesn't work. But at the same time, I understand that if the players got to take the heat, the coaches have to take the heat as well. So I definitely get that. Even prior to, and we'll get into Kimba, I was feeling encouraged about this team. I thought defensively they were looking a little better. Offensively, they were trying different things. It's just that players weren't hitting shots. I thought you know Randall, at least in the Atlanta game, I saw Berg and a few other players bringing the ball up, and Randall actually going to the weak side. Weak side corner. So that was a new wrinkle just to have him playing off the ball as well. So 2-1, I'll take it. Um, I was a little nervous about the Atlanta game because we was coming in, just down a lot. But that's a lot of times when players scrapped and play their best. They showed a lot of heart. We got an opportunity to see, I think, for a little while. I'm not sure how many minutes they had the young players in it. I think 20, 23 and under. They played well. I was very impressed with Sims, especially how he guarded the pick and roll, how he, really, you know, kept contact with the
Hmm.
roller, but at the same
And
time
his
had his
game.
hand out, to try to pressure the guard as he came into the lane. Like that was just textbook, actually. And that was something I would have liked to have seen from Mitch. I mean, Mitch gave up, a few alley oops, um, but just his fundamentals just wasn't as sharp and crisp as Sims. Now, I'm not advocating Sims to take any of Mitch minutes. I'm just saying that I thought that Sims was more fundamentally a sound, at least in that, um, in his pick and roll defense. And I was very impressed with Quickly too, with the 7 assists, just how he's defending the position and how he's playing the pick and roll. I mean, he creates problems when he's running the pick and rolls because you have to respect his shot. And now he's able to get into the lane. And when he gets into the lane, he has the floater and he can also find people. So I was very impressed with Quick as well. And you know, we are right. It's 20 games, in with 2 games, over 500. So anything else before I move into the 20 game review?
Um, One thing that play, well, a particular play that I recall that you just kind of mentioned about was Sims, where Young was driving to through the middle of the lane. It looked like he wanted to throw the lob to Capella,
Mhm.
but the fact that Sims, he had his, I guess would be his left arm touching Capella as he kind of hedged for Young, and Young knew he couldn't throw the lob and ended up throwing a floater up and missing that shot. And yeah, he kind of looks like a young Taj out there. The way he plays defense, he fights continuously throughout the play. You know what I
Right.
mean? Doesn't really give up on a play. Um, I think again, I'm not talking about immediately, but I
Mhm.
think down the road we got something in that kid. And again, shout out to Josh for pointing that out.
Yeah,
That's
Prior
definitely.
my
to the
dog.
draft.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted what's the center on the rookie on Charlotte from Western Kentucky? Basie.
Mhm. They,
Or yeah, Basie. But yeah, I'm good with Sims. Shout out to the chat, still Nick fans, Building Roots, Marvin Smith, Jay Williams, SP, Sports Guru, David L, Mark, Mike Morgan. I appreciate all of you. If you guys can, please join us at Legends, 33rd Street and I believe Fifth Avenue. Tomorrow, the Knicks play the Brooklyn Nets. I believe it's at 7 p.m. We're gonna do our post game show from there. We're gonna do a watch party from there. We're gonna do pre-game, watch party, and then post game. So if you guys can join us, please come out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Trust me, it'll be a lot of fun. All right. Before we, get deep into our 20 game review, let's address the elephant in the room. Kimba is out of the rotation, not sent to the bench to play with the second unit, but out of the rotation. I think Tibbs made a definitive statement when he said out of the rotation. Before I get to you guys' thoughts, let's just run down his numbers real quick. In 18 games for the Knicks, remember he was out 2 games for rest, not injury, but rest. In 24.5 minutes, he averaged 11.7 points, 2.6 rebounds, 3.1 assists, shot 42.9% from the field, 80% from the line, and 41.3% from the 3 point line. And keep in mind, his percentages are actually better than they've been over his career on average. He's never been a very efficient shooter. With Charlotte, he shot 41.8%. 99 games with Boston, he shot 42.3%. And what else? 42.9%. Free throw percentage was down, but 3 point percentage was up with a limited sample size. That being said, guys, what do you think about the news that Kimba Walker is out of the rotation for the foreseeable future? Is that how he put it? Yeah, big statement.
So I'll go first, and I addressed this on the controversy earlier. I have mixed feelings about this because, well, first and foremost, I didn't want to make any changes to the starting lineup yet. I didn't want to do that. However, if I did wanted to make changes for the starting lineup, I would have left Kemba in there, and I would have swapped Alec Burks for R.J. Barrett. Now, the reason why I don't like this move is because Alec Burks is not a natural point guard. He's just not. He's not a point guard. I do think he can help defensively. But I just can't see night in and night out Alec Burks being that guy that set up the offense. I can't see Alec Burks playing that role. I do understand why Tibbs made the decision though, because and taking Kemba completely out the rotation, I thought that was also really good because I can't see Kemba Walker being a situational kind of guy. I can't see him coming in there with the bench unit, having 3 guards on the floor. I can't see Kemba Walker playing that role. So I do agree with Tibbs from that standpoint. However, I just don't think we have a adequate starting point guard on this roster. We tried the Derrick Rose experiment last season. It didn't work. Emmanuel quickly might be an option. He might be the best option to play starting point guard right now. But is he ready for that? That's some of these questions that we have to ask. I just feel like the Alec Burks move is a little bit of a Band-Aid for a bigger problem. And that problem is the Knicks still have not addressed the starting point guard position. And they haven't done it for a very long time now. Free agents, the front office, box free agency. I'm just going to call it what it is. They botched free agency, and we still have a gap at that position. So we'll see how what happens. But I have mixed feelings about it. Let's see if it can work.
Okay, Tony.
I have mixed feelings as well, but for different reasons. Because if it works, it works. If he's playing the point guard and it works, hey, that just means he could play the point too. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't consider it a concern going forward if it works. So I'm fine with that. I also think Derrick Rose is more equipped to play the position now than he was last year. So I think that's still an option. I think if he was available, I think we would have went that route rather than the Burks route. So I think that's an option going forward as well. Um, and the only reason I have like mixed feelings is the optics of it. Like I'm surprised with. I've said this all day. With Derrick Rose potentially missing tomorrow's game, that Walker's not in the second unit, and he's just still dropped into that rotational or situational role. I think that kind of is a little extreme to me. Um, Now if Rose was here, it'd be more understandable,
Right.
like guaranteed to be here. So that's the only mixed feelings I have about it. But I mean, I still trust Tibbs. You know what I mean? I think if anybody was gonna happen to, Kimber's the perfect guy. That's not gonna give any pushback. He's not gonna make a controversy out of it or a
Right.
scene out of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what this does because it's gonna improve the defense 100%.
Right.
Burks is considered streaky, but he's on a hot streak right now. So let's see how long he can ride that out.
Right.
Um, and I hope it just doesn't affect. I mean, now it's looking like instead of being the fourth quarter guy, we might get it in the first, second. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know when we're gonna get it, but
You
you
mean
know what I
from
mean.
Burke?
Yes,
Okay.
like you know what I mean. Like, so hopefully, if it's not in the fourth, hopefully we're doing so well that you know what I mean, or other guys are stepping up in the fourth because he's doing his damage throughout the game.
I have a question, Sir Queen.
Mhm.
Tony, what makes you think Derrick Rose is more equipped now than he was last season to be the starting point guard?
Number one, quickly is more equipped to just play the point. Um,
And then you mean a man in the second unit if Rose was to move to the
yeah,
point guard?
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay,
That
so
I
it's
mean,
less about Derrick Rose, it's more about quickly, is what you're saying.
well, I think the problem last year is it disrupted the second unit, and it exerted Rose more because his minutes increased, which means
Right.
Instead of being able to play at 100% for 20 minutes, we were getting 75% at 30 minutes for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Um, so it's a combination of both. But
Josh, are you saying? Oh, sorry.
I just think I'd rather keep the veterans with the veterans, the youth together. That chemistry with Quickly and Obi. I want to keep that tandem as much together as possible.
Josh, are you saying you don't think Rose could play the point guard position as a
No, of
starter?
course, he can play the point guard position, but I feel like we went to that move last year, it didn't work. And there was a reason for it. I just, Tibbs wanted to keep that second unit, that second lineup together. At least any combination of Quickly and Rose, or Quickly and Burks, or Rose and Burks, that combination. So that's one of the reasons why. And my second thing is, I just feel like Burks is not a point guard. He's just not. I mean, Burks is a dynamic player. He's a dynamic guy who can go out and get buckets, but he's not going to be a playmaker that's going to set people up in the offense. That's not what he does. That's not what he does. He's a
Right.
scorer. He's a guy who can
Mhm.
shoot the basketball. He's a guy that's dynamic enough to be able to create shots for himself. But playmaking and all that stuff, that's not what he does.
I
Right.
mean,
But
today
why
most
does
point
that?
guards aren't. I'm
Don't do
sorry.
that. But I'm saying, so why do you not feel Rose would be better in the starting lineup if Burke is not that playmaker?
Well, because he wasn't last season. That's all I'm going by. I'm just going by last season. Maybe he is better at it this season. I feel like either him or Quickly will be better for me than Burks himself at the point guard position, because they're more natural point guards. I guess I'm just going by based off what I saw last season in regards to Rose, putting Rose
Right.
in the starting lineup.
But
But
that
Rose
was
only
just the
played in the
last two
starting lineup
games.
2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think the
Well,
issue with
Well,
yeah,
there was some games where he also started during the regular season where he was out there and it just didn't work. We were
That's
expecting.
no, that was because of injury though. He started out of necessity if Peyton was out, I believe.
That's what I'm
But
saying. That's my
yeah,
point.
were you saying it didn't work in those particular games?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
wasn't.
have
It
a
wasn't.
memory to say that like we lost those games, or like
right.
I actually recall us wanting him to stay starting, and when Elf was healthy, Tibbs put him back in the starting lineup. He's like, no, this is the
Right.
lineup.
Well, I
What?
never said that we lost those games because Rose was in the starting lineup. What I'm saying is, I
It
just
didn't
didn't
work.
think that it. Yeah, I'm saying it didn't work. It just didn't work. The offense wasn't much better with Derrick Rose out there. It wasn't much more fluid with Derrick Rose out there. All he did was just take possessions away from Julius Randle. That's basically what happened while he was out there. Same thing happened in the playoffs when Rose was out there. The offense wasn't as fluid without him. Without him,
Well,
with
hold
him
on.
at the starting point guard.
I disagree. I
Wait.
think
Yeah,
the
I
other guys
disagree too.
didn't show up. Rose showed
Correct.
up, even in the
Correct.
2 games he started. He
Correct.
showed up. I
Correct.
mean, I
Yeah.
mean, he didn't change the outcome, but that was based off of the play of the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to break down. But I will say that, you know, the mistake was, you know, taking Rose off the bench, and kind of giving in to whatever it was, whether it was the fan base or maybe something happened internal about, now is the time to remove Alfred Payton. You know, our advantage was in the bench. You took that, you took that away, put him in the starting lineup, but partly he felt like he needed to because Randall just was not playing well, to say the least. I will say this about Rose at point guard. This is a different team. This is definitely a different team. I think last year, Randall handled the ball a lot. I'm on record. I've watched Randall for 2+ seasons now. I've seen enough of him. I'm on record as saying I think it's time for him to stop the facilitation duties. Not stop getting the most shots, not stop being the focal point. I still think he should be that. But I would prefer to have Rose in that lineup if he actually has the ball in his hands. I think it's a waste if he's in the starting lineup and Randall is bringing the ball up and Rose is just playing off of Randall. I think that's a waste, you know? And I think he would be better than Burke, quite frankly. And I think Quickly is ready, to man the point guard in the second unit. Bottom line is that second unit is not going to be intact. Whether you move quickly to the point guard, whether you use Rose, whether you move Burke, that second unit is going to have to change some. Um, my only concern with Burke is that means more Randall handling the ball.
Right.
Basically, it means more Randall handling the ball, and we'll get into Randall a little later on. Um, but in order for this team to peak, in my opinion, and to reach the ceiling that it can reach, Randall has to do things, a tad bit differently. Yes, Josh.
So Queen, I agree with that. I think, and that's the reason why, like I said, I would prefer either Rose or IQ. But let me ask this question:
Mhm.
why don't he just make the move to put Rose in the starting lineup now as opposed to Burks? And if you
Rose is hurt.
hold
Rose is
on, hold on,
injured.
let me get there. If that is the case, if it is because of injury, and Derrick Rose winds up playing tomorrow, is that still the case?
I mean, somebody said in the chat, I haven't listened to Tip's full press conference, but someone said in
The
the
hype.
chat that um, his preference is to have him with the younger guys, I guess as a stabilizing force. Um, we'll see. We'll see. That's his preference. It seems like to keep him with that second unit. I don't see. I'm with you, Josh, with this. I don't see Burke at point guard as a long-term solution, and
Oh
by
no.
long-term, I mean the rest of the season. I just
Mm.
don't. I just don't see him playing that position now.
So if it's working, then what?
I still think you need to go
You,
out and get a point guard.
mm,
I still think you need to go out and
mm.
and get a point guard.
And
I,
Tone,
I
what is
just don't
what
think
what?
that's his position. That's not his position. We're doing it because it's an emergency, basically.
I
Right.
you know,
mean, I
It's
mean that's drastic. Like to say it's an emergency, but you literally taking the guy out and put him in situational. Like the
that's
easy
but that's
fix
an
would have
but you
been
don't think
to.
it's an emergency? I think
I
it's an emergency.
I mean, again, I would go with Rose as well. I
That's
agree.
my
I'm not
first choice.
arguing
Yeah.
that. But if we win 60% of our games, like out of the next 10, 6-4, and that's successful, do you still does it is it still an emergency? Is it still top priority? You know
well
what I
No,
mean?
no,
well
no,
Or
no. I mean the change was probably an What I mean is that he put him in because he felt this was an emergency situation. We needed to make a change. He was the best option on the team. But going forward, Burks can't be your starting. What's going to be your ceiling as a team with Burke as the starting point guard? There's
right.
only but so far you're going to get. You may catch lightning in the bottle. You may win 6 out of 10. You may get, I don't know, the fifth, fourth seed in the playoffs. But how far are you going with Burke as your point guard? You got to
In
think
the
long term
playoffs.
as well,
In
and
the
in the playoffs.
playoffs. That's what I was
I
thinking
mean
about.
I think I disagree though, because I think, I mean, granted, he has his lapses um in doing like silly things. You know what
Right.
I mean? But if he can cut that out, I think he's smart enough. His handle's good enough. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we're looking for him to, like, he's gonna have to play his game. You know what I mean? Like he needs pick and roll action. That's where he's best at. But he can create on his own. Um, he's not a penetrating force, like that's not his mo. But he can penetrate. He can drive. Like I my thing is, if it's working, if we're successful, I don't see us changing anything unless an opportunity presents itself that is a better opportunity. But changing it is like trying to fix something that's not broke. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah, I
that
mean,
that's
I
the way
definitely
I'm
hear
looking at
that.
it.
Yeah, I hear that. But I would take a short term chemistry disruption for a long term solution.
Can I?
Like
All right,
if we were able
hypothetically,
to get, for example, DeJounte Murray in here,
okay.
if we were able to get, I don't know, even the point guard from Dallas, what's his name again?
Brunson.
Brunson
Brunson.
Brunson.
in. I would take a short term disruption in chemistry to bring somebody in who I think would be a longer term um, solution. But I
Okay.
agree with you. It might disrupt the chemistry a little bit if you're on a run and you bring somebody in. But do you really think Burke is your point guard, like moving into next year and the year after?
I mean, I wouldn't even say anything about the year after. But if
Right.
it's successful right now, I wouldn't change it, and I don't think Tibbs is gonna change something that is working. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like now, Grant. Another thing he said was he likes the size that he gives at the point guard position, or playing the point guard position. He likes the fact that they could switch four out now, 1 through 4, with
Right.
him.
Right.
So it changes. It probably gives Tibbs that comfort zone. Like, put it like this, and I hate to do this. He's probably better at the point guard position than Elf, right? Like,
Probably, yeah,
like,
yeah,
like, like,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if you're just comparing the two player for player, and you're saying I need one of these guys, and granted, it's bad because we know what he dealt with last year and the hate from the fan. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm saying if we rocked with Elf all of last year, he didn't make that change until the fourth game of the playoffs. Like, I can't see why he doesn't stick with this if it's working.
What if it
But
doesn't work?
If it doesn't work, I think we go to Rose. I think we should go to Rose anyway, but I think we go to Rose and then quickly moves to the man in the second unit. Burks goes back to firepower off the bench as well. I ultimately think that's what happened. I also think we're gonna need, if this is the case and Kemba's out,
right.
somebody's in, right? I don't think it's gonna be expanded minute. Well, it probably will be expanded minutes, but I think either Grimes
Right.
is gonna continue his 7 5 minutes a game, or we may see Knox get his opportunity to
Right.
show something. Um and and
Right.
and, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Can I just address this? Oh, sorry, Tone.
no, I'm good. I was done.
You guys trailing off. I think the thing is off. Shout out to you, Fly, because what I'm about to say is not about is not for you particularly, because this is actually benign compared to some of the things that I've seen about Randall. Trade Randall and keep Kimba. Randall has played horrible, and the New York Knicks fans and Tibbs are putting the blame on Kimba. This is sad. Can we? And that's fine. That's your opinion. And that's fine. At least it was respectful. But is it possible for us to criticize Randall without being downright disrespectful? And my opinion, ungrateful. I
Mm,
mean, him and Tibbs last year took this organization out of the mud and made us respectable. Now, in no way am I saying you cannot criticize Randall. I criticize Randall myself. But he's a bum. He
mm,
took the bag and didn't show up. He doesn't care. Like that is just a bit
mm,
over the top. It's a bit over the top. Criticize his game. He's not playing well. He's not adjusting to what's going on this season. Criticize it. But all of the extra ish, I think we could just dead it, right? Because you're being disrespectful. Then you got somebody like RJ
mm,
who was playing like a garbage can for like 10 or 11 games. And on Twitter, crickets.
mm, mm,
Nothing. You heard nothing. He had one decent game yesterday, 15-point shot, really good from the field. People coming out from under the woods, like they was hibernating. Oh, wow, look at RJ. He's playing. Listen, you can have we can have fan favorites with fans, right? But let's be fair with the criticism and let's give it out equally. All right? This guy carried the Knicks for an entire season. Does he have flaws? Absolutely. We talk about it all the time. But he's still a very good basketball player. And he's our best player. So all of these people like, oh, if Obi had this, if Obi had, we know what we got in Randall. We don't know what we have in Obi. He is our best player. Put some respect on his name. You can criticize him. respectfully
and appreciate him.
and
I,
appreciate what he brings every game. Go ahead, Josh.
on that point, you said that he's our best player and he's a really good player. That's all true, but he's also very valuable to this team. Still, he is our best rebounder. We lack rebounding. Julius Randle is our best rebounder. Julius Randle is one of our best screener. He's a better screener than Mitchell Robinson, so he needs to be on the floor. Obi Toppin is not that good of a screener yet, right? And I understand all the frustration with Randle, but think about this: if the Knicks actually had a point guard or had someone out there to take the pressure off Randle a little bit, where it didn't have to be Randle holding the ball and being a facilitator that much, we wouldn't be saying any of this stuff right now. And on top of that, if guys would be knocking down shots, we wouldn't even be talking about this. Right. So I think it's very unfair with what's being put on Randle. I think he is the best player. The Knicks are a pretty decent team. We're better than what we were last season as of right now. Right. I think people just have really high expectations and unreasonable expectations, in my opinion, in an improved Eastern Conference. Let the team finish playing its games, and let's see what happens. Don't after 20 games say Randall's not it. After last season, the type of season that he had last year, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I totally agree with that, Queen.
Yeah, and you can struggle. You can struggle. And listen, Randall, I've said it, I'm on record. I think he would be a much more efficient player if somebody else was setting him up and all he had to do was score the ball. He didn't have that responsibility of trying to create shots for other people. He would be a 20-10, 5 assist guy on great efficiency because he's not trying to process the offense and who I need to get involved. What that you would take that out of his hands. But that being said, he would still be our go-to guy. He would still get the most shots on the team, in my opinion, because he is our best player, like it or not. So for me, it's what can we do to make him more efficient? Take the ball handling responsibilities, the facilitation responsibilities out of his hand, bring in an alpha. Because if you bring in somebody that he doesn't respect, he's going to still try to bring the ball up the court. And I'm not sure what the coaching staff is telling him. Bring in an alpha that's going to let him know it's a wrap. It's over. Get to your spot. I'm going to get you the ball. You're going to, in the 3-point, mid, low post, you're going to get all the shots you need. But I am running the show for now. And if the Knicks are going to reach their ceiling as a team, and if Randall's going to reach his ceiling as a player, it's going to be because he is no longer facilitating the offense. That's not his game. So all I'm saying, listen, those who don't like Grant, I'm not saying not to like him. I'm not saying, all I'm saying is the extra stuff. He's a bum. He's this. He's stupid. Like the extra stuff. Just relax. Criticize him, but just relax and spread that criticism around. Right? Spread it around because he's not the only one not playing well in this team. Tony.
Two questions. One, this gentleman's comment that you just read, and I know you say, what you just said wasn't directed to
No, it
him
wasn't directed
because he was
to him
respectful
because
in what he
that was
said.
respectful in what he said. Like people
Yeah,
are
but
getting
but
out of
to,
hand.
relative.
I
but
appreciate you,
to
Fly.
his comment, because I've heard this on ESPN or somewhere, and they're saying that they basically making Kemba the scapegoat, or Tibbs is making him the scapegoat by pushing him completely out the rotation, and I think that's kind of what the gentleman was saying in his comment.
Right,
Less to the effect of
right,
he mentioned Julius, but it's more that's not Julius' decision. You know what I mean? That's
right,
Tibbs'
right,
decision.
right.
So, what are your thoughts on that? And then also,
That of Kimba being a scapegoat.
yeah, optically or whether
Mm-hmm.
truthfully or not,
Right,
do
right.
you think that there's value in that concern or
Mm-hmm.
statement? And then I realize your concern with Burks playing the point by your position on wanting Randall to get the easier shots, because I think for that to work with Burks, Randall's still gonna have to play that main facilitation role.
Right,
Um, so I understand, like, because I'm like, that is less likely to work because he's gonna have to do that. if Burks is running the point. He's not a point guard. So I agree with y'all in that
Right.
aspect. Like he's not gonna go out there and just start creating for everyone. That is true. But making the right reads is just as effective, I believe, at playing the position than just a straight facilitator. But
Right.
my question in saying all that is, and you've mentioned this a while ago. What if it's Tibbs? What if that's what Tibbs wants, or or
You mean in
or
terms of
Julius, or the
yeah, no, you're
combination of
right.
them? Because it seems like that's what that's where they're trending towards. Tibbs and Randall, whether it's Tibbs, you know what I mean, making it that way, or I can't see Julius just doing that out of Tibbs,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, that's a good point.
what he's telling him to do.
Right.
But even with all that, I think there's good in that because he could. We talk about like LeBron, he makes the right play 90 something percent of the time. Julius maybe 70, right?
Nah.
But but the more he gets in those positions, I think the better he gets. Like he's gonna learn from them. He's gonna improve
But
that
Tony, I haven't
percentage.
seen much
And,
improvement in
and
Julius in that position, though.
I have
He's
I
still
have
taking a
I
long
have,
time to process,
but it
you
also
know.
even making the right decisions also like the assist doesn't come unless the shot is hit. But again, if it is Tibbs, do you think that's you don't think he can improve to the point where because maybe
No.
that's what they think he needs to become the next level.
I mean,
Uh,
I mean, the coaching staff can definitely disagree disagree with me. I mean, this is just
right.
they may think that he needs more reps to take it to the next level. I think in order for his game to go to the next level, they should in that experiment bring in a point guard, bring in a facilitator. I don't see where Julius has gotten better in his processing speed, being able
Mm-hmm.
to process where the ball is going. And he's still waiting to the very last minute. And now you passing the ball to a guy with 3 seconds on the clock for them to do something with it because you didn't pounded the heck out of the ball for like 10 seconds.
Can I
It's
just
just
mention
not
where I've seen him get better?
sure.
Because
And then we'll go to you, Josh. I mean,
you're
yeah,
right.
Josh.
But what I see him doing more of and he's getting better at is making the play. So he is not making quick decisions, but he's setting up decisions. You know what I mean? So he's kind of thinking the game out, but you want and I get
It's
it.
not
You want him
natural.
to, yeah,
Boom.
I know, but
Yeah.
when you're learning, you gotta think your way through it, and but that's what I've seen him do and get better at. So I think it's just gonna be a natural progression. But ultimately,
But
you're
why
right.
does
I
he
think
has
we
to
do
play
need
that
somebody to
position
get
at
easy
all?
shots. I said I thought that's what Kimba was gonna do for him this
Yeah.
year, but
Yeah.
it's not many guys out there.
So
Yeah.
a lot to uncover with what y'all were talking about. But the first thing I want to talk about is Julius specifically. So Queen, you said that you don't see Julius taking the next level by doing what he's doing. Well, he did that last year. The year before that, when Julius Randle was playing point forward, bringing the ball up the court, he wasn't doing that. We were talking about, or people were talking about the spin move and all that stuff. Under Fizdale, right? Last season, he was doing that, running the point forward, still facilitating, and it took his game to the next level. That's why he became an All NBA player. Now, if you want to argue that the Knicks as a team, right, separate from Julius Randle, are better when we have a facilitating guy out there to take the ball out of his hands, I'm all for it. But I don't agree that Julius Randle being a point forward is not taking his game to the next level. I think that's what
It's
separates
not,
him
Josh.
from.
Listen. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Finish. No, finish.
No, I was gonna
No, no. Go ahead.
say because last season it did take his game to the next level, and I still think that's what separates him from the rest of the power forwards in the NBA. It's his ability to be a point forward. However, the team as a whole, and this is where I agree with you on that point. The team, in order for the team to get better, they need to have a guy who can take the ball out of his hands. Julius Randle doesn't have to bring the ball up or what have you, and I think the offense will be better for it. But I think Julius Randle himself, as a power forward, is one of the best power forwards in the NBA and better than most power forwards in the NBA because he has that ability.
I
Josh,
think it gives him
I don't
another
think.
dynamic. I agree with
Yes.
with
I
Josh.
listen. It was the
But I
same
agree
thing
with you
last
as
year,
well.
but they was just making the shots. It was the same thing last year. Wait until late in the clock to pass the ball out. Guys was hitting shots. But he was doing the same thing last year, but guys was hitting shots. Guys are not hitting shots this year. We saw it last year. He was a tough shot maker last year. So I don't like you may see him as a point forward getting better, facilitating the offense. I just don't I don't see it long term.
So Queen, if guys are making the shots this season, are we even having this conversation about Julius Randle?
I think so because he's just it's just not the same as having a point guard do it. Like the
No,
spacing
I'm
is
with
not
you.
the
I'm with
same.
you on
He's
that.
And
passing
I
the
agree
ball, they
too.
right there.
Yeah.
He's waiting to the last minute to do it. I think if guys are hitting their shots, it covers it up a little more. And now we doing this experiment a little longer. I think, guys not hitting his shots, he's getting exposed.
You know,
Like all of the stuff he was doing last year, it's the same thing. It's just that guys hit shots.
but
Yeah.
we need a guy like a Chris Paul because and obviously that's the top of the totem pole. But in that make where number one, Julius has to respect him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it has to be a point guard whose decision making is A1. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when we talking about LeBron and his decision making, what separates him to be able to do what Randall is attempting to do, is his
Right.
decision making. So when we talk about the point guard, that's what we need. And Chris Paul, perfect example, only because he's miniature. You know what I mean? He's small, but he gets it done. He outthinks everybody. Before he even outplays somebody, he outthinks them.
Right.
And so that's what I mean. Like, who if we could get the right point guard, I agree 100%.
Right. But I hear what you're
And
saying.
if we're using Rose, I agree 100% because I think he has the respect of Randall to where he's gonna let Rose dictate how things are ran. But
Yeah.
I don't know if we have another guy on the team that particularly does that, and I don't know how many guys are out there that's available. So now we talk about all right, who can we go get? I like the Brunson talk, like that's a good available guy I think we could get. But how many more guys like that out there?
Here, real quick. This
Can
is
I read the
the
super chat? Can I read the
go,
super
please.
chat
Yeah,
real quick?
please, Queen. You got two of them
Um,
too. Got
I
another one
got
after that.
two. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nikki Barrett, shout out, appreciate you. Julius Randle is so much better than the rest of the team that even at his worst, he is our best scorer, rebounder, and passer. Put respect on his name. I mean, at this point, he is. He is. I mean, I think Rose might be a better passer. And this is what anybody can make a pass to somebody that's open. When you have those guys who can also play make, they pass you into shots that you may not
They
even
pass
thought
you
you
open.
had.
Yeah.
They
Mm-hmm.
pass you open. And to me, I don't think that means you have to be a Chris Paul. You can still be a shoot first player with some playmaking ability to help get people easier easier shots. And to your point, Josh. All right, fine. Maybe his point forward percentage that he plays that goes from 90, which it is right now, to 25, 30, 40%. But I get you. That does make him unique. It does make him unique. But I just think um, he just needs less responsibility right now. Let me just find the other super
But
chat. You saw it?
who we giving it to?
Yeah, I don't think that
That's the
person is
question.
on the team. Oh, where's the super chat? I'm missing
Lost
the
it,
super.
Queen.
Oh, there it is, right here.
There you go.
They
1975
still
Jam
over
Rock.
dribbles.
Appreciate you. J30 still over dribbles into traffic. He getting it together though, but yeah. Shout out to
Let
the
me.
Prince Bun. John Wall will give us more than Kim. Oh, it's no doubt about it. It's just a money issue with that.
Yeah.
So
I
if it's not facilitating, because I don't even think it's facilitating with Randall. I think it's decision making. But what do you think? What do you think he needs to do to take it a step up from last year? You know what I mean, like an improvement.
I just think it's going to come natural. I just feel like if he doesn't have to do the decision making and trying to get other people involved, and when he gets the ball, he's trying to score, he passes up so many scoring opportunities because he's looking for other people. I think he would be much more efficient. I think his scoring average would go up. I think that he would have more energy,
Mm-hmm.
because he would be expending less on the offensive end. I think his rebounds would stay the same. I think his assists may even go down a little. He's still going to get double teamed.
You
So he's going
seen
to
that
still
bounce
pass out.
pass? You seen that bounce pass he gave the Sims in the paint?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So he's going to still have that in his game. I would just like to see him look to score
For sure.
first and then pass off of that. He moves. It's like he's trying to pass first instead of scoring.
Can I
Yeah,
add
sure, sure.
in regards to this conversation? I know we're gonna find out what's gonna happen with this Allen Burks thing, if it's gonna work, if it's not gonna work. But the reason why I didn't want to do any starting lineup changes at all is because we
Mhm.
brought Kimba in here to be a stopgap guy anyway. Now we just took Kimba out the rotation completely to put another stopgap guy in there on the team. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of money, so to speak. And
I
I,
mean,
quite frankly, even though with Kimba's limitations defensively, I know he's not giving us much offensively. I just personally feel like if we would have kept him in there, you know, let him be a stopgap. That's what you brought him in here for, $8 to $9 million or whatever the case may be. I just think that things eventually would have worked themselves out. But now you just create a whole situation where you took him out the rotation completely, right? You know what I'm saying? Just to get Burks in there when Burks was already fine with the bench unit. To me, it wasn't as necessary as people made it seem to be. I don't think
I
this move was completely necessary.
I agree with you to the point that, I mean, I like seeing Tibbs change things up, but the fact that he rocked out with Peyton all last year, but we've seen Peyton play 6 minutes. You know what I mean? But he started. You
Right,
know, you know what I
Right.
mean?
right, right.
Like, so he could have went that route. Um,
Yeah, he could have went that route,
Yeah, he could have.
and ultimately,
but maybe out of respect, maybe he didn't want to do it that way.
I think ultimately
Yeah.
this means like it's gonna end up being like a Austin Rivers type thing where we're trying to move him, or we're trying to move him in something big, where you know what I mean, we're using up
Right,
that 9 million cap space as
right.
filler. You know what I mean?
I I tell you what, I think Kemba Walker's going to be in street clothes for the rest of his time on the Knicks. I don't think he suits up again in a Knicks uniform.
Wow,
That's
that's yeah. Wow.
Not because he can't play with this,
Right,
whatever. I'm
right,
just
right,
there's no reason for him to be in a uniform if he's out the rotation. I think he's in street clothes.
right. I mean, this is what I will say. I don't. I thought it was a necessary move. Our defense was just horrible, and the stats bore it out. When Kimba was in the game, was out of the game, the Knicks were number one in defensive rating, giving up 99 points. When he was in the game, we gave up 116 point something points.
yeah. I'm not
Yeah,
even
I
a
mean,
stat
it's
guy, and I've been quoting that one
that's
too. Like,
significant. Yeah, that's significant. Our identity is defense. That's part of our culture now. And we just weren't that team. And I think we needed to get back, we needed to get back to that. But I
what
agree. I don't think it's a long-term solution,
what
but I think it was overdue.
I got a stat for you though, and this is another thing that's so disturbing to me, to go from starting to out the, you know what I mean, to situational. Like that's drastic. One,
Yeah.
and it's not really his mo. Like
Yeah.
guys have, especially from last year, they trended down for the most
Right.
part. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was all right. You're starting, and now, yeah, we don't know when we're gonna see you again. Um,
Right.
so that's crazy. But another crazy stat is they Randall Kemba's only played 9 minutes without Randall. 9 minutes this season without Randall. So why not maybe try to make that the change? You know what I mean? Let him get his. Let's see how he rocks out with Obi and see if that
Right.
changes things any. So again, that's one of the things that um you know it's just a little crazy to me. He
Right.
only played 9 minutes without playing with Randall. He hasn't had an opportunity. Maybe that pairing just doesn't work, and it's not him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to Eru on Die Hard Knicks podcast. If you get an opportunity, he did an entire video on Kimba, and how, specific plays that he broke down, and that how Kimba played well in those particular plays, and that Eru felt that Tibbs just wasn't using him well and using him to his strengths on offense. And he pulled out a few plays over the last couple of games in which he hit the mid range, in which he hit the three, in which he passed the ball, in which he did, some really positive things. So, I mean, there may be something, to it, on the offensive end that we weren't using him correctly. But on the defensive end, it just wasn't, it just wasn't, it just wasn't clicking. Shout out again to 1975 Jamrock for the super chat. Can we make a play for Halliburton or Mitchell? Fox may be the better play, even though he's going to be more expensive, only because I think they're very high on Halliburton and Mitchell, the young guys that's not making a lot of money. So I'm not sure they would be available. And Michael Sharon, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you.
I think Sacramento would hold on to Fox just because, like I mentioned in the previous show, someone did a super chat about SGA. Let's go get SGA. And I feel like these small market teams will need that guy. They need that guy to put butts in the seats. So that's why they probably wouldn't let Fox go unless they had someone else, a star draw potential. But they don't have that. So that's why, maybe we could make a play for Halliburton and Mitchell. It's going to cost us some draft picks. But Fox, I just feel like he's going to stay in Sacramento unless Sacramento's getting back someone of equal value, like a player. That's a draw.
We go after Mitchell. He's playing point guard.
Davion Mitchell.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what they talk about. Davion out of Sacramento.
Davion Mitchell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Heck
My
yeah.
bad.
And he can play defense too. He's a problem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, we already got into Randall. I wanted to ask a different question, but I just feel like we spent a lot of time on Randall. So let's move on. Let's go to Art. I did want to talk about our offense, though. Let's just pull this up really quick, and I just want to ask one question. So this is our offensive stats from you know um, last year. Our offensive rating went from 23 to 16. And we're scoring less points. That's just where the league is right now. Points pretty much the same, but we went from 26 to 19. Rebounds from 9 to 12, even though we're, have better rebounding numbers. Our assists are pretty much the same, 21.4 from 29 to 28. Field goal percentage is down actually, but in terms of ranking 21 to 22, our 3-point percentage has been really good last year and this year. We were third last year with 6 this year. 3-point made, we were 21 last year with 7. So that adjustment they made as far as the 3 points attempts and what have you, I think that was a good move. They saw that we were making them at a pretty good clip. So let's take more. And that has worked out. Free throw percentage, if it wasn't for Quickly, it would be even worse than this. 76.3 for 20th in the league. Our pace is 25, up a little bit. And our bench scoring, 37.4 points last year for 12th in the league, now 40.4 for 4th in the league. Now that's going to change a little bit with Burke moving into the starting lineup. But, anything over these first 20 games you want to comment on as far as our offense is concerned?
The bench stood out the most to me. Improvement from Quickly, improvement from Obi, even the little contributions. I mean, so not only the bench, but even that next man up mentality of this team, or just being forced to do it, and us responding well. People taking advantage of their opportunities. But yeah, bench play number one for me. Obi quickly. Rose started the season real hot. He hit a little slow stretch for about 3-4 games, but I mean the bench has really saved us in like 4 or 5 games and made some losses competitive as well.
I agree with Tony. Listen, we coming into the season, we knew the bench was going to be one of our biggest, strongest attributes with this particular team. We already knew our bench was gonna be filthy. We already knew that. But I just want to say those offensive numbers are a bit deceiving, and not the numbers themselves, but the rankings, right? Because scoring is down throughout the league. You know what I'm saying. Even though the numbers seem to, I don't know how to explain it. Like the numbers are different than they were last season, but the rankings are better. I just think they're a little bit deceiving because scoring is down completely throughout the league. The big stat that I want to highlight though is pace. I want to see the team pick up the pace a little bit. Early in the season, we had a faster pace. We were getting more shots up, but as the season has gone on, it hasn't been the case, and we seem to be reverting back to what we were doing last season. I don't know if Tibbs is kind of comfortable with that style. Taking your time. Getting shots later in the shot clock. But that's the way the team seems to work now. You know what I'm saying? So I just think the numbers are deceiving a little bit. We have to see if this Alec Burke move is going to actually help us out. But we'll find out. And what this person saying, Steph?
I
Fulio?
understand Sexton, but Halliburton over McBride.
I
I
don't think
haven't
he
even
said
seen McBride play.
And Sexton's out for the season.
Yeah, I haven't even seen McBride play yet. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know. But yes, I would take Halliburton over McBride right now. And Sexton to be honest with you, even though I didn't say that previously.
right. I mean, listen, let's see how the offense works now. I love the way the offense looked in preseason. I love the way the offense looked the first few games of the season. And after that, it just went into a tailspin, and we have not seen anything close to that offense in terms of ball movement, in terms of player movement, in terms of shot making, nothing. If we can get back to that and improve our defense, the Knicks will be right back in it. I mean, if you look at the standings, they're only like one game in a loss column out of, I think, third or fourth place. So we haven't peaked yet. We haven't gelled yet. And we're kind of right there still in the mix with these other teams, some of who have been clicking already, right? So I still think the Knicks can very well reach their ceiling, but things have to be worked out on this offense. And the number one is you got to hit shots. That's it. It's a shot making league. You have to hit shots, and the Knicks are getting um, good shots. Um, let's go into our defense. We spent a lot of time on Kimba and Randall, rightfully so. Um, so this is us how we're doing defensively. Last season we were third in the league in defensive rating, first in opponent points, first in opponent field goal percentage, first in opponent 3-point percentage. This year we are 17th in defense. 17th in defensive rating, giving up 100, pretty much the same amount of points, but giving up 108 landed you third last season and 17 this season. Opponent points 13 at 106.2. Opponent field goal percentage is still good. We third, holding teams to 42.8%. From the 3-point line, worse than last year, 34.8. It just seems like just a small difference, but
Hmm.
18th. Opponent rebounds, 44.1 last year for 16th. This year, we're 18th at 46.6. Opponent second chance points, pretty much the same, 12.2 last year, 12 points this year. We're giving up second chance point. Last year, we were ninth. Um, this year, we're 12th. And opponent fast break points, 10.5. We were second last year. We're giving up a little more, and it's netting us 11th. So I agree with you, Josh, that, you know, that there's more teams, either more teams are playing better defense or more teams are just missing shots and just not, just not shooting well. But, the pretty much the same numbers doesn't net you the same results, at ranking wise. Anything stands out defensively, either
I,
stat
I,
wise or the eye test from watching the team?
Well, yeah, the team was not that good defensively to start the season. I mentioned on previous occasions, guards and wings can allow penetration. I think because we've been giving up penetration, our points in the paint, the opponents' points in the paint haven't been that bad. However, that penetration from the wings and guards allow open guys from the 3-point line. They swing it around, and that's how we get in those situations where guys are wide open. So I think from the eye test, that's what I can tell, and I think that the numbers reflect that a little bit. But just like those offensive numbers, again, those rankings can be a little bit deceiving. I think the team has been much better defensively over the last 8 games, despite the Phoenix game where they gave up over 122 points. Phoenix is a different team. I think that the defense has been getting better. I think the team is starting to revert back to what they were doing last season. And now I guess with Burks out there, they can be able to switch everything. So having another guy out there to switch on defense. And I think the defense will be much better moving forward during the season. There was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. So I'm going to have Tony go.
I agree, man. I think the defense
Oh,
has. Go ahead, because
I just wanted to say also fouling. The NBA with the rules that they have, like a lot of players are complaining about, they should be getting fouled or what have you, sending people to the free throw line, and the refs are not calling those fouls. So I think that is a big part of why scoring is down throughout the league, and I think not just the Knicks, but a lot of teams are being affected by the rule changes with that. Go ahead, Tom.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of good defense throughout the season from this team, even before I think a lot of people started acknowledging some of it. But ultimately, I think when Tibbs was playing the guys from last year, like there wasn't a big drop off. I think a week ago there was a stat out saying that we've had the most games of keeping the opponent under 100 points, and that could have only improved since then. And another big difference is, like, we've had all these games of keeping guys under 100, but those other games it was like 120, 115, 119. You know what I mean? So it was a big fluctuation in when we kept them under 100 and when we just couldn't stop them from scoring at all. It was like no middle ground, no 106, 109s. It was, it was always 110 plus. So
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm encouraged by Burke being in the starting lineup, and I think when it's all said and done, I think the Knicks will be near top 10 in defense. I agree with you, Josh. Over the past 8 games, the defense has definitely looked better. The perimeter defense has looked better. The rotations have looked better. Um, and and teams have finally stopped hitting shots. I mean, it seemed like they was
Pretty
hitting
much.
like every open shot, to start the season. So I'm definitely encouraged by that. And let's see. I mean, I think we were all in agreement for the most part that we would take a dip in our defense if we can get some more points. We're getting more points, and I think if we can just move our defense up a little better and be more consistent with it, I think we're going to be right there. I really do. We are nowhere close um, to our season. Well, we talked about Kemba and Randall pretty much out of necessity. Let's move on to some other players. I definitely want to talk about RJ. Um, let me pull up his stats first, read them off, and then I don't know. Some people may think this is a provocative question, but I have a question about RJ. Let's bring up his stats, and I'm bringing up all 3 years. Okay. Um, Rookie season, 4.3 points. Last year, 17.6 points. This year, 14.6. First year, 5 rebounds. Last year, 5.8. This year, 6. Assists, 2.6, 3.0, 2.2. Field goal percentage. That first year did not shoot well, 40.2%. Did much better his second year at 44.1%. This year is worse. He's shooting worse than his rookie season. It's still early. It's just 20 games. 39.4%. Free throw percentage, 61.4%. His rookie year, got it up to 74, almost 75% last year. Now it's back to 69.2. And I believe it was the Atlanta game. He was 4 out for 10, 40%. 3-point percentage, 32% his rookie season. Last year, 40%. And this year, again, only 20 games, back to 32.1%. So I want to have a pretty, decent conversation about Randall. I mean, RJ, I know for some um, fans, he's the golden child, and there's a lot of, reasons why he's not performing. Um, After having watched um, um, RJ, his third year, are you more encouraged by him as a prospect or less so? And another question is, do you think he's regressing or just having difficulty adjusting um, this early in the season?
Go ahead, Tone. I'll let you go first. You shook your head, so
I still think RJ is gonna be perfectly fine. I haven't wavered. Um, I'm not more encouraged. I can't say that, but I'm definitely not discouraged. Um, it's certain things. I thought his rebounding would be a little bit higher from, like you just said, 6. I would have guessed maybe 6.57, but I think his rebound has improved. I think his defense has improved. Um, I think he's hit a rough stretch, but ultimately, I think those numbers go back up. I could see him having a 10 game stretch of 20 something points a game, and I think he'll be fine. To be honest, I know you guys wavered a little bit, but I'm here to stay positive on RJ. Like, he's not the golden child, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he'll ever be the superstar, but I think he's gonna be a solid guy. You know what I mean? Uh, Maybe a 2-time All Star, not a perennial. You know what I mean? Like, he'll get there a couple times, have years where he might have thought he should have, and he got
Right.
snubbed. But I mean, that's still a good. He's gonna be a good, have a good career. I never thought he'd be a superstar though.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, anyway, you never thought he would be a superstar
No,
anyway, is what I'm trying to
yeah,
say. Not anyway.
yeah, no.
Not trying to dismiss what you're saying at all.
we good, we good. It's all
But
love.
let me go before you, Josh, because I can see you bringing the smoke. Um, you know what? When his first year, I was really encouraged by RJ. I saw Paul Pierce. I saw, a guy who wasn't flashy, but who I thought would be a star in this league. I really did. Um, I watched him last year, and despite his points, I just wasn't. I had issues with his mentality. You know, people were like, "Oh, he's averaging 17 points." It went up. Last year was just 14, and everybody was really encouraged by that. But for me, the reason why I changed my opinion and I thought, you know what, I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be a very good NBA player. I think he's going to be a very solid NBA player. I think he'll make, like Tony said, an all-star team or two. And I could be very wrong, but I don't see superstar. I don't see Hall of Fame. I don't see all NBA player in RJ. And that's totally fine. I mean, you don't have to be that. I think he's going to be a very good player. But what changed my mind is every player that's in the Hall of Fame is an alpha. Every player that's in the Hall of Fame, they're going to go out and they're going to get it. And it's not even about minutes. It's not even about how another player is holding you back. Look at IQ. IQ plays 19 minutes a game. In my opinion, he has an alpha personality. His game needs to catch up. He makes poor decisions at times, right? Because he's confident. He feel like I can make the shot. I'm as good as anybody on this floor. I'm about to pull up from the logo and bust this game wide open. And and he misses, of course. Um, I don't see that in RJ. And you know, I think what I'm seeing this year, you got to ask yourself, who's RJ? Is RJ who he was as a rookie, or is RJ that guy we saw last year? Or what we seeing now is just him coming back to who he was, or are we what we seeing right now is him struggling? You know, um, but we will see. I do think he's struggling. I think he may be losing confidence a little bit because he's passing up shots he would usually take. Um, he's not finishing around the rim. He got a lot going on. But I will say, you can't say he's not going to be. I don't know if I want to say he's not going to be a good player. I do think he's going to be a solid starter in this league, but I don't see superstar. I don't see perennial all-star. I don't see all NBA team, and I could be wrong, and I hope that I am. I don't see that, but I think he'll be good. I think he'll be a good player.
Josh is like, he has no value on this team.
I it's just because people are calling me the RJ hater. When I've been saying this stuff for since last year. You know what I mean? I haven't wavered in anything that I've said about him. People said I was being too tough on him, but now we're talking about his third year in the NBA, where he's supposedly going to be this two-way player, where a lot of people, including himself, expecting himself or put himself up there to be an all-star, and I just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? So Again, I just think he's going to be a really solid player, like you guys said, a solid role player for a championship team. I think he definitely can contribute, to a winning organization. But the way Knicks fans talk about him, he's not that kind of player. People saying under the under 21 stat, he's the only player outside of Luka and LeBron and Magic Johnson to do this under the age of 21. Again, it's just misleading, completely misleading. And I just don't see, that superstar Jason Tatum like. He doesn't go get it. You know what I mean? If he was at least going to get it and being more aggressive, I would be a little bit different. Like that New Orleans game, yes. I like to see that, you know what I mean? And forget about the production, forget about the 35 points. I just want to see him taking it. You know what I'm saying? Telling Randall, I got it. Let me take it. Let me take it out your hands. Let me take the pressure off you a little bit. I haven't seen that yet. On a consistent basis. And he's just been missing wide open layups, and he's only one-handed. Chicago took his left hand away from him. He couldn't do anything, right? So I just, he still has a long way to go, and I'm still a big proponent of him coming off the bench. I think he plays better with that second unit. He's a lot more confident with them. And for everyone that is saying that it's because RJ Barrett's playing the 3 now instead of the 2, stop it. You know why? Because when the Knicks go to that small ball lineup and sometimes they have RJ Barrett at the 4, RJ Barrett plays well. Okay, with that second unit in there. All right. So it's not about RJ Barrett playing at the 3. I don't think that's the reason why. I just think that people are coming up with excuse after excuse for this guy. Listen, I think he's going to be a good player in this league, a solid player in this league. He's a good player right now for what he does at his age, but I just would like him better in the second unit. Go ahead, Tom.
I was hoping you mentioned the bench thing, and if you didn't, I was going to ask you because you mentioned it earlier. Do you think if he was having the same production off the bench, would we still be down? And down on RJ? Because what I'm saying is, I think he fits the second unit as well too. I love that 23 and under unit. I like what we saw from it. Obviously not as a starting unit, but I would love to see that in the rotation. But do you think because he's been starting these 3 years, he's been looked at as a possible second option, if not definitive second option? Do you think that's where some of the not even pressure but expectation from us is on him? Like I say, with the rookies we have now, how there's no expectation for them. They could just be rookies and grow or get again. I'm not saying good or bad. RJ didn't have that. He came in, expectation off the jump. This is you know what I mean. Number 2 option.
Right.
So
I just think people
really learning on the fly, growing on the fly. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not down on him. That's why you know what I mean. Like he's. I hate to say the age thing, but he's still learning, and he's doing to me, a good job of being a kid or a young guy, but running with the vets, running with the veterans, and taking on those guys on the other team as well. So I mean, I'm still relatively high on
So I'm Tony. I'm not down on RJ Barrett. I mean, people make it seem like I'm down on him, but I'm not down on him. I just think that I'm not as high as most people are. You know what I'm saying? Most people.
Ceiling.
Yeah, most people are calling him Tatum. Most people are bringing up the Magic and the Kobe stat and LeBron stat. You know what I'm saying? That's what Knicks fans get themselves into trouble. Just because I'm not at that level doesn't mean I'm completely down on RJ Barrett, right? And I do agree. I do think he's developing, he's learning, and I think we did a disservice to him by putting him in the starting lineup right away. He's not that kind of talent, right? He didn't come out of college with that elite level talent where you can say you can plug him into an NBA starting lineup right now and he can go out and perform and produce right now. RJ Barrett was never that kind of player,
I
right?
mean,
I
no,
mean,
that was the MO, and I think on a losing team per se, that we won his rookie year, but on a losing team, yes, you can put him in that role and let him, you know, jump right into the fire.
but he didn't
But when it
produce,
comes
Tony.
down to the next year two, and with a Tibbs, like ultimately Tibbs is gonna make a decision. Like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe RJ goes to the bench, Burks slides over, and Rose slides up, and now we see
That would work for
that,
me.
that young unit, and I think that's great because now you again it kind of puts him back in that role of you still got to earn it. You know what I mean? Like we're not putting all that pressure on you, but I can see that happen. I called for it last year,
But
and
I
people
don't think
was
that's the
thought it was
issue.
crazy.
I don't. I mean, for RJ, he may play better on the bench. But do you think that's the issue with RJ, that whether he's playing on the bench or
No, I think he's
whether he's
capable.
starting?
I
You
think
you
he's
think
capable as a starter, but I
no
Two
think
no
things,
that
Seth. Two things, Queen. I think himself. I think he plays better with that second unit himself, meaning they get out faster and they move the ball faster, which I think RJ Barrett likes because he gets out in transition a little bit more. And the second thing is, I feel like for the starting lineup, he's not dynamic enough to play along Randall. He's just not. He's just not dynamic at all. He's just as stagnant as Randall.
I
You
think
ask
the
me.
issue I'm having with he he is, but the issue I'm having is two. One, he's not hitting shots, and that's okay. That's a slump. That's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
I'm not worried
But
about
the
that.
second thing I'm having is he's not being aggressive. And let me tell you, I've been watching this game. I've been a Knicks fan and an NBA fan for 40 years. It's really hard when you have a guy that's has this type of mentality where they like to play within a system where, it's hard for them to come out of that and
mhm.
become something different. It's really hard. I don't know if that's coming out of the Canadian Olympic type system, where you share the ball and you just, the international game almost. I don't know if that's what it is, but I'm not seeing the aggressiveness that you would. There's a big gaping hole in this offense that Barrett can come right into, snatch it,
You
and
think
have a great role on this team. And he's just laying back, in my opinion,
you
not
think
being
he's
aggressive.
passive? I don't think he's passive. I think when Tibbs says like know your role and be, like I think he's put in a role and he's trying to stay in his role. But when he's hot, they feed him. It's not like even when like the New Orleans game, it's not like he's taking possessions. They like, all right, you got it rolling here. You know what I mean? When he
So
don't
they
have
do
it,
feed him.
I'm
So
not
they do
saying
feed
he's
him,
not
Tone.
playing hard, though. That's
yeah.
not what I'm saying.
Because Nick fans will make it seem like, oh, Randall has the ball and he doesn't look for RJ Barrett at all. That's the reason
No,
why RJ Barrett's production is down.
I've always disagreed with that. I've
Okay.
I've, I've always disagreed with like him and Randall don't can't coexist and Randall looks him off and all that like to me that I don't see that. You know what I mean? I think when he's hot, they go after him.
Listen, let's stop. Let's this is what I'm saying about let's being fair with the criticism. Randall has nothing to do with RJ missing shots. Randall has nothing to do with RJ shooting 40% from the free throw line. Randall has nothing to do with RJ over the last 10 games shooting like 20 under 30%. Nothing to do with that. So let's just be fair with the criticism. You can like Randall, I mean, excuse me, RJ, and still look at his game and say, yo, that's my guy. I like him. But over the past 10 games or so, he's been playing like trash. It's okay. We say that about Randall all the time. He's
Yeah.
just not playing well. Oh, he's 18, he's 19, he's 20, he's 26, he's 27. He's on a new team now. They got a new offense. Come on. At some point, What are we asking you to do? Make your shots and play aggressive. I'm not, somebody said something about him playing hard. I never had a issue with him playing hard. He does play
Yeah,
hard.
it's never been
I
an
need
issue.
you to
Never
be
been an issue.
aggressive. Just like in those New Orleans game, he was being aggressive. That's what I want to see from RJ every game. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I agree. He needs to attack the basket more and attack the basket stronger.
right.
Um, but I mean, I think ultimately it's more about missing shots for him than anything else. To me personally, and I like the fact that he's taking those pull up shots still. You know what I mean? Even though he came in hot and then cooled off and got a little stretch, but he's still taking those shots that he worked on. So I think ultimately he'll turn it around again.
Okay.
He'll have another
So
hot stretch.
for you, what you're seeing, Tony, is his shot is just not falling.
Hmm.
That's what you're seeing. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm seeing a bit more than that, but I
But
I
I
I
agree.
get it.
I would love for him to be more aggressive, attacking and attacking the rim. Like that's what use that
Yeah.
strength. You know what I mean. Like
And
a
go up
lot of
strong with the ball.
yeah, a
Go up
lot of
strong with it.
times, and it's crazy because it's either he's not going up strong or he's going up so strong and getting the and one and flexing on somebody. And it's like, do that like that's how you go to the basket every time. Like don't flip it up after a little bit of contact. Make sure you're making a shot,
Right.
whether you get fouled or not. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I don't think any of us are saying that he's not going to improve. Um, but he hasn't been playing well, and I think we need to highlight that. I don't have a problem with him being in the starting lineup, but I agree that maybe running and gunning and getting out on the break, he may be better. But remember, he doesn't finish that great at the rim with all of this running that he's going to be doing with the with the with the second unit. I just thought it was just interesting that his third year numbers, again, only 20 games, seem to be more similar to the first year. And it just kind of, like, wow, we have his ceiling, pretty high. Um, you know,
And
let's see.
I don't know exactly now, but a few weeks ago, everybody's numbers was down on the Knicks, like compared to last year. So I mean, we got to take that into effect as a collective as well as individually. You know what I mean? Like I think
Mhm.
Randall's numbers was down, Mitch's numbers were down, like, like at some point. So I think it's more missing shots. I think he'll be fine. Ultimately, I do
Right.
think the fan base is split. Either you think he's the next superstar, and he should be the number one option, or I think more logical like us. I think we think he's a good, solid, full time starter throughout his career. You know what I mean? A couple All Star appearances. You know what I mean? Nothing to be ashamed about.
Tony, do you think if RJ Barrett becomes a six man on any team at any point throughout his career, that's necessarily a bad thing? Because I don't. And fans act like that's going to be, he's a third overall pick. He doesn't need to be a six man. When there have been plenty of NBA players throughout their careers who have made their money coming off the bench, made
Pe-
their money, made their
people
bones.
people will talk bad about more. They'll talk worse about a high draft pick becoming a six man than a high draft pick that is out the league. You know what I mean? Like they don't even remember that guy, but they'll end up calling him a bust. I don't think there's a problem with it. And I think with Tibbs, it's the perfect guy to kind of like make you earn it back up. You know what I mean? Make you work your way back up.
Listen, I do see RJ as a starter, because I see him as one of those glue guys in your starting lineup. Though that guy that's going to get you 15 to 17 points a game. He's going to defend, he's going to rebound, he's going to make the right play, he's going to move the ball. His IQ is good, his feel for the game is good. He'll make the right passes. He's just a very solid basketball player. So I do see him as a starter. I see him as being a high level glue guy. Um, actually, so I see him starting for his career. And to be honest, and Tony, you and I talked about this early in the season. That's what we were hoping for him this year, to be
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that two-way player. Like you don't even have to score,
Hmm.
a lot of points. Play good defense, move the ball, play make, rebound, do all of that other stuff, and leave the scoring to you know um
Let me ask you
to the other
this:
guys. Hmm.
do,
It's
and,
just
and
his
I,
percentages, his efficiency that's concerning me. Go ahead.
do you think him playing with the second unit could unlock the alpha? And I say that as far as now you're going against second unit guys. Now you like, you know what I mean? Like now you saying this is my unit. I'm number one option because that could benefit him short term and long term. As far as like, maybe if he is passive, maybe it's because, and again, I'm not saying Randall particular, but he's on the floor with vets. You know what I mean? To the point where, and we got a new guy, Fournier. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe that benefits him. I mean, granted,
Maybe.
it's not like quickly gonna take a back seat. It's not like Rose gonna take a back seat, but he could keep that mentality still. And I
Tone,
think that
that's another reason why I like that move. It has nothing to do with RJ Barrett's lack of production. Because like I said, like we all went to the saying, he's just been missing shots. It has nothing to do with that at all. I don't care about the production. That game against New Orleans when he put up 35, I don't care about the 35 points. I just care about him being aggressive and being that dude, that alpha dude. That's the whole point of me putting him in that second unit. That's the whole reason why.
But
That
listen,
right
if you
there.
are alpha, you are alpha. Why you got to go in the second unit to be an alpha, though?
Maybe he's not. He hasn't developed it yet, Queen. Maybe he
I,
hasn't.
let me rephrase it. What if it's starring in your role? Because in the second unit, your role changes. You know what I mean? So now you become a A1, the, you know what I mean, number one option, as opposed to you're not really that in the first unit. You kind of got to be picky, and, and 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 you don't want to overstep. You know what I mean? Like, when I say he's still young, now I'm saying it because it's still a pecking order. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
still not everybody could be D Rose and be like, 20 and be like, yo, this is my team. This is my, you know what I mean? Not everybody is that. But
Hmm.
so I get it. Alpha's an alpha, but you could be a baby alpha. You know what I mean? Like, there's still levels. You know what I mean? Like a
Like
six.
Emmanuel quickly being an alpha in the second unit, but not in the first unit, or not as much in the first
Not as
unit.
much. That's a
And
good point.
that's what I agree. I think
That's
it
a good
could
point.
happen. I'm not advocating it. I trust Tibbs. I do like, I see he's using RJ in that second unit, like with them a lot more. So I like that. So I
Right.
think it could work.
Yeah, shout out to Bless Roberts. RJ could become an alpha if he perfected his ball handling. People need to understand he has a ground game. Well, no, RJ needs to understand that he has a ground game, and so now you got to get shifty. And you're right, Bless Roberts. You got to have a great, you got to be able to ball handle, so that you can get to where you need to go, because you're not gonna, out quick guys. So you're gonna have to do other things to get to your spots. All right. Let's take a look at Fournier stats. And I have a question for you guys. All right. So he's playing 28.7 minutes. Oh, let me get this out. He's playing 28.7 minutes, down from 31.5. I don't have the Boston stats here. I think he played with them, after the trade deadline. He's averaging 13.1 points, down from 16.2. Rebounds are down a little bit, 2.5. Assists are down a bit, 1.8. His efficiency is down, at least in terms of field goal percentage, from 45.2% to 41.1%. Free throw percentage is down. And his 3-point percentage is actually up at 39.5%. So the question I have is, should we still look to trade him? when the December 15th deadline comes along? Or do you feel like, regardless with the Kimba move or even without the Kimba move, that he's still a good part, a good piece for this team, and can still help us? Oh,
So yeah, I feel like the Knicks bought him in. I thought he was always going to be traded. I thought his contract was that flexible enough for them that they were always going to make that move. I never saw him sticking around long term or anything like that. Um, I would say the only way I would trade him, and the only type of player I would trade him for December 15th, is if we're going to get a superstar, because his contract he has one of the biggest contracts on the team. And I feel like if we go get like another guard or whatever, a shooting guard or wing, we can just plug him right in that position. Boom. And then it's an easy little thing right there. But it would not, if we're going to get another player of equal or lesser value, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. I will hold on to him, possibly wait till next year, which is going to be, I think, the final year of the final guarantee year of his contract. At that point, he becomes expiring, and then his contract value will be worth more because he has an expiring contract. So that's my plan for Evan Fournier.
I agree that if he's traded, it's only in, I'm gonna say, a blockbuster.
Okay.
And the same reasons, 17, 18 million, whatever it is, large chunk of that salary is gonna cover whomever we are bringing back. But it's interesting. You said a wing, so you don't think he would be traded for a point guard? You think it would be more of a 2 or 3?
Well, I would say just a guard, a wing or a guard, a wing or a guard. That's what I meant to say.
All right, all right. Yeah, because I mean, I'm not mad at him staying though.
me.
I think he can improve still. I think again, he still hasn't peaked, and yeah, I wouldn't be mad at him staying. Can we briefly maybe give a list of people that we would be interested in trading for? Because I, for me, the list is pretty small, and I think I'm leaning more towards rocking out with with this roster. Let's see what Tibbs could do again. You know what I mean? Let's see where we could peak at, and then maybe make a move next year if there's no ascension.
Queen,
Yeah.
can you
What?
highlight D Grant's chat? What he said? I don't
Say
know if
that
you can
again.
see it. Can
Okay,
you
hold
highlight
on.
D Grant's comment in the chat? I mean, I can do it, but
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah,
you know.
I got it.
So he said, Josh, what kind of superstar are you going to get for Fournier? He's not that great. No one is trading Fournier 1-for-1, head to head for anybody. It's going to be a part of a bigger package, right? So it's not about Fournier for who you bringing back. It's going to
It's
be
about
Fournier. It's probably
salary.
going to be some draft picks or whatever, and we're using Fournier's money as a filler to get that other guy over here because right now we're over the salary cap. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm okay rocking with 28 too. I don't think that he's reached his peak. I think he's been playing well over the past few games. I think his defense has improved. His defensive effort has improved.
He
So I'm
talks
okay.
too.
And yeah, I'm okay. Excuse my dog, please. I'm okay with rocking um with Fournier. But I'm okay with bringing somebody back, as well. I'm okay. I'm okay both ways. I'm really interested in how the Burks to the starting lineup is going to work out. Because you could cover one bad player, defensive player. It's hard to cover two. So if Kimber's out of the lineup, we got Burke. Fournier is playing a bit better. This offense can take off. And our defense is better as well. So I'm okay rocking out with him. I still think he can shoot he could potentially he can score on all three levels. He just hasn't been doing that. And as far as who's available, it's who I would want. It's hard to say because it's hard to know who's available. You know, I'm a big DeJounte Murray fan, even though I know he's not a prolific 3-point shooter. He is shooting it better this year. I just like his size, his assists, his rebounds. Um, his ability at that per, position. Who else?
I mean,
I'm okay with
you
Cat,
wouldn't
but
you wouldn't
mhm,
for him
mhm.
you would try to probably keep Fournier, right?
I would,
Or
um,
you because you
I
think
would,
we're gaining enough? Um, Granted, we haven't seen Fournier peak out here yet, but
but you
For
know what?
DeJounte Murray. Oh, he's
This
way.
is the thing,
I'll take it. That's a team need. Yes, absolutely.
because this is the thing. It's not about the individual player. It's about who you're going to become as a team. And I think DeJounte Murray is a Tibbs sort of guy with his size, his ability to
mm,
defend the position, his playmaking skills. He's a potential triple double guy every night. Now, he's not a high level scorer. Like, he's not somebody that's going to get you a 20-10, but he'll get you a 12 points, 8 rebounds, nine assists type guy, and will lock down that position defensively. So I've
and
always been high
and
on him. What you saying?
no,
Can't hear.
and Burks can fill in Fournier's role. So that
Yeah, yeah. The only issue I'm having with Cat, he's another guy that I like, and shout out to State who brought this up. You know, can you win in this league where your best players play the center and power forward?
Yeah, it's a good question.
You know,
Well,
some
Milwaukee
guys.
did it.
some some
Milwaukee did it. Yeah, well,
somebody's gonna have to sacrifice.
yeah. All right,
That's
let's
the
get
only
to
way
these
it
last
works.
two.
Because I personally think a stretch five helps this team. So
It
Oh, no
you
does.
get a
doubt
stretch,
about it.
you get a
It
stretch five, put him with Randall, and then get like a competent point guard running the point guard. I think that could be a winning team. I think that team could win a championship.
it does, but somebody's gonna have to be a willing to sacrifice. So like Cat is gonna if it's Cat, he's gonna have to play a role rather than be the guy.
What do you mean?
He's the guy. He's the main guy, and used to being the main guy. He's gonna be essentially a role player.
I think I know every championship team that's going to be sacrificed. So I mean that goes without saying. That's going to happen
Right,
regardless.
right.
You know.
Yeah. Um, Shout out to D Public Enemy. Like I said, the Knicks can get Jalen Brunson or Kobe White for a chopped cheese sandwich. I'm not high on Kobe White though, but I like Brunson.
I haven't seen Brunson do much starting. I know a lot of people are high on him because of his natural point guard ability, but him nor Kobe White have a lot of starting experience. We said the same thing about guys like Cameron Payne, going to get those guys. Like they've only started minimal amounts of games. We still have to question whether they can be able to start night in and night out. And I think for all those guys who we're looking at that, have some talent, have some potential, but I just want to see it a little bit more before I invest a lot of money into any one of these guys because they haven't started that many games.
Right. But remember, Lowry also
Hmm,
was a backup until he
He
got
was.
his opportunity. You
that's a
know,
fact.
They hit on it. They hit it.
yeah, Brunson is solid. He's he reminds me of Brogdon in that he's solid. He's not spectacular. He's solid and he can defend the position. He might be a little undersized. And you're right. He hasn't started many games, but whenever what's his name? Doncic is out, Luka is out. Yeah, he performs well. But you're right. Over a full season, you're not going to know until you get the
Do
until you
you,
get the
do you
opportunity.
do you think he's better than I'm gonna say a more proven backup? So like a DJ Augustine or
Yeah,
I
I think he
mean
has more upside.
even Fred Van Vliet, who
Oh
obviously is a
no,
starter now.
DJ
Van
Augustine
Fleet.
actually started some games in the NBA, and
Yeah,
Van Vliet is
yeah,
different.
I know he started full seasons before, but
Mhm.
historically he's a backup. So I'm saying like you think Brunson it has more potential than those guys' is like careers.
I mean, I don't
Potential,
see
yeah.
him.
I mean,
I,
go ahead,
I
go ahead,
don't.
Glenn.
I don't know if I see him being a superstar. I don't see Brunson being a superstar. I see him being, in the like Van Vliet to me is one of the best point guards in the NBA. I really like him. Um, I see him being like a Brogdon type. Not in terms of their game, but just solid. He can
Mm-hmm.
run the offense, he can play make, he can defend the position, he can hit the three. Just
High
somebody
value.
solid. Yeah, and you're right, Josh. I'm not talking about a huge contract either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a huge contract um, either. And he is on the smallish um, side, but this guy has grit, and he's not very fast. He knows how to get to the basket, and finish.
Last question: do you think bringing another guard in is more important? Bringing a new guard in, a starting guard in, and letting quickly continue his development. You know what I mean? Like somewhat slower is more important, or do you think
Mm.
try quickly out before you go out and spend money somewhere else?
Yeah. Speaking of quickly, let's pull up his stats and let's get right into that question, Josh. Perfect segue. Um, IQ averaging 19.1 minutes, so pretty much the same amount of minutes he averaged last year. Remember, starting off the season, his minutes I think were a bit lower. Points are down 9.3 compared to 11.4. Rebounds 2.1 last year, 2.0 this year. Assists 2.0 this year, 2.5 this year. And I think I didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure his assists would be up if I did like the last 5 games or so. Field goal percentage 39.5% last year, 40.5% this year. Free throw percentage 89.1 last year, 91.4 this year. And his 3-point percentage is down as well, 38.9%. And this year, through 20 games, 36.3%. So the question I have is he the point guard of the future for the Knicks? So to your point, Tony, do we just bring in somebody stop gap, to give quickly a little more time to develop so that he could take over that position? Or do we need to go for a bona fide, I'm going to say bona fide, but a point guard with a bit more experience who's had success in this league and let quickly find his way at a slower pace?
Or just give him the keys?
I think you can do both. I think it's legitimate that you can do both and have him fight out for the position and quickly wins it. He wins it, and you have your guy for the future. If not, you have a guy who's bona fide, veteran, or what have you that started some games or whatever that you can put in there. I don't think it has to be either or. I think a lot of Knicks fans look at it that way. You're gonna bring this guy in, and you got McBride there, and you got quickly there. You can definitely do both.
But the
Depends
guy
on who
you're
you bring
referring
in,
to
though.
is stopgap. Yeah, like Queen said. Are we
Yeah.
talking about Dame Lillard? Obviously, that's not
No, she said
stopgap.
stopgap. It doesn't have to be a big contract. It can be someone like $10 million, $12 million, or something like that to play the point guard position. You can bring in someone like that and still have quickly contend to be the starting point guard. I think that's definitely
Either or.
possible.
Well, I mean, that's the question.
Yeah,
Because
that
if you don't think he's a point guard, then you're going to bring in
exactly.
somebody who's young enough to man that position for years to come. And so then quickly just pretty much is, you know,
Yeah,
off,
that is
off
like
the
three
bench.
options, Josh.
3 options.
Basically, you got the superstar, like quickly's not a point guard, or he's not a
Right.
starting point guard. You got stopgap. Let's give quickly one more year, you know what I mean, or so, and then give him the keys, or give him the keys now.
So someone in the chat put that Kimbo was a stopgap. Cut that out, which I agree with that. Um, so I think it's the middle. I think it's the one in the middle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't have to be a big time bona fide superstar. If it is Dame Lillard, then quickly ain't starting. that's just not happening.
So
If
you
it,
see
if
him as
it,
the point guard
You
of the
you
future, and you
argued
would say
stopgap
bring in a
earlier.
stopgap because you see him playing that role within a year or two.
Yeah, but a stopgap doesn't have to be a stopgap until you bring someone else in, or for quickly a stopgap. Well, a stopgap doesn't have to be wait until quickly develops another year. A stopgap can be just the guy to man a position or contend with quickly during that little short 2 or 3 year window or whatever, and within that time you can be able to find out whether quickly is the guy or it's not. So it
Got
doesn't
you.
have to be, wait until quickly he's ready. It can be they can
Got you.
contend for that spot, and then you can be able to find some things out
Until you see if he's ready or
until
not.
you.
But
Yep.
I agree with you, but I wouldn't let that stop me if a proven veteran came up right now. Like for example, if DeJounte Murray became available, I'm not sitting there saying I'm not going for him because we want to see if quickly might, in 2, 3 years
Right.
be able to man a position because this guy's young enough. If he comes in, it's a wrap. I mean, it's possible. Stranger things have happened, that quickly beats him out in a few years. But this is what I think. I'm not sure if he's the point guard of the future. I agree with you, Josh. Just let him develop into that and let's see. Let's see. And I'm not making any decisions of who I'm bringing in or not bringing in based on him potentially being the point guard of the future. If he develops into that, we'll deal with that when it comes. If we have two bona fide point guards like Mark Jackson and Rod Strickland, right? We'll deal with
Yeah.
that if it gets to, if it
Oh
gets to
man,
that. you know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up the Knicks and bruises.
Knicks and
Um,
bruises.
we'll deal with it when it comes. But I will say that he might be able to do that. He might be a point guard. I mean, he has to develop. His decision making is not great. Well, you see how he runs that pick and roll.
Very nice.
You know what I
He can.
really
Very
love
nice.
too?
He
He
can.
pushes the pace
He pushes the
from
pace.
from from gate,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Rose. So
Yeah.
but with youth.
Right. And he can defend the position. Now, he's not an elite defender by any stretch, but he can defend the position. And out of that pick and roll, you have to respect his shot. Now he can get into the lane. He's
Mhm.
able to make passes off of the pick and roll. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing from him. All right, this is my last question, and then we're not gonna have time to get into Tibbs and the front office. This is my last question, and I don't even have a slide. Are we paying Mitch, or have you seen enough of Sims to say that going forward we can rock with Noel, backed up by Sims and Gibson, and use that money elsewhere? Or are you paying Mitch?
No, I'm not paying Mitchell Robinson. He's not doing it. I think he's very, very limited. I haven't seen that much of a improvement from last season to this season. And I know Tone is going to bring up the injuries. He hasn't been healthy enough and this and that. But I see a little bit of a regression, not defensively, but offensively. I mean, I just feel like Mitchell Robinson, he can't screen at all. He has no game outside of the paint. All he is a guy that can go out and do the vertical game. But outside of that,
Mhm.
Mitchell Robinson doesn't really. I don't really see that much of a role for him. Defensively, Mitchell Robinson can play defense. But I think we got that in Nerlens Noel already. I think Nerlens Noel's better against the pick and roll. I think Jericho Sims is someone who, is just as good. Not just as good, but definitely improving in that aspect as well. So no, I'm not paying him. I think the Knicks really are solid at that position right now, and Mitch is just not healthy enough, in my opinion. So no, I'm not paying him.
Mm.
But you don't think it's just the weight and the injury, and that given a few more months or next year he'll round into shape?
I don't think the weight is necessarily the problem. I just don't like his skill set. He has his offensive skill set is just not there. And I know, and I already know what Tone's gonna say, so I'm gonna let him say it. I'm not gonna say his points for him. But he just doesn't have any. He just doesn't have any offensive skill set, like at all, except dunking the basketball. And he's not that strong of a rebounder. I just don't. For a center that we got to potentially pay money to, I
Mhm.
just don't. I don't know.
Uh,
I'm a
here's
Mitch
what I
hater now.
say.
Look, someone said I'm a Mitch hater now. Go
Um,
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not mad if they pay him. Um, I do think he is an asset as well. So if he needs to be included in some type of big package for the right piece, I'm not objected to it anymore. You know what I mean? I will say that. Um, I thought he was elite at you know, certain things that was hard to come by, I've come to realize that, you know, specifically talking about Jericho, I mean, he has some of the same attributes, and it's almost like the rotation. Like you keep him at that same money for the next couple of years, and use Mitch as asset. But I'm not mad if they pay him, um, 15 a year for 4 to 5. Um, I'm not mad at that contract. Um, I think it is a little bit overpriced.
Yes,
It
8 million.
is. I agree. I think he should be more in the 10 range. So I would
Yeah,
prefer that, but I'm not mad at that either. But that also means now we're relying on you. Now the expectation goes up. Now you need to develop a hook shot or some one.
right.
Just give me one offensive move. You know what I mean?
Something.
Besides the putback dunking, but
But
it takes
somebody brought
times
up a
with
good
some big
point.
men.
Somebody brought up a good point. You know, what offensive game does Capella have? But I will. But my answer would be elite. Be elite. Like if you don't have an offensive game,
Mm-hmm.
then I need to know that you're gonna block 3 shots. You're gonna grab 12,
15
15,
rebounds.
some nights
16 rebounds
17.
for Clint Capella. That's the
you know,
difference.
you
That's the
know,
difference.
yeah. So if you're not gonna have a be offensive minded or have an offensive game, then you better be an elite defensive player and an elite rebounder. That being said, I just feel like we're not seeing the best of him. I'm not worried about his offense. The question for me is, can he be an elite defender? Because if he's an elite defender, the offense may not matter as much,
Right.
especially if he's able to get the lobs and what have you. This is what we don't know. How will he recover from the injury? We'll see as the season goes on. Will he ever adjust to the weight that he has? Some players don't play well at a heavier weight.
Mm-hmm.
Some players just don't.
Do you see
Um,
improvement
I don't listen.
as of
When
late
mm-mm.
defensively?
Yes, he's rebounding better. Yeah, Jeff said no. He had, I think, one game this week he had like 11
11. Mm-hmm.
rebounds. You could tell his foot is bothering. He's not there. If we can get him maybe on a cheaper contract, given that the injury and the weight and he's not playing well. But I will say this: Sims was more fundamentally sound defensively the other night than Mitch was. And for everybody that's saying if Mitch was there, we would have been. Mitch got caught on. I can't tell you how many lobs by Capella in that Atlanta game. Now, in all fairness, he is injured. Um, so maybe that he's not 100%, and he said so on Twitter. He said I'm not, and I wasn't even 100%. So
Jericho
And I
Sims
think
was a 4 year player.
he started the game pretty well on Capella.
Jericho Sims was a 4 year player at Texas, much more disciplined. Mitchell Robinson didn't even go to, I don't think, didn't go to college or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did not have the type of coaching. So Mitchell Robinson is still very, very raw. He has improved from year 1 to year 2, though. I seen that improvement, which gave me a little bit of optimism. But he's just not, he's just not where I need him to be right now.
right, but I will say this about Sims though, you know, why was he there for in an age where players are coming out after a year, maybe two? He stayed 4 years. Kai Jones, Hayes,
Right.
I think it
He's
was
playing
Jarrett
behind those
Allen.
guys.
All
Yeah.
of those guys came in, played one season, and was done. He played 4 seasons. So is that saying for 1 second? Is that saying something about what we can expect in terms of his ceiling? Um, as well. He wasn't, why he didn't come out after a year or two.
I think that's because he's not a modern five. He's a throwback. I think that's, you know what I mean. Like if your draft stock, I mean, think about it. Where did we take him? Second, third to last pick in the
Yeah.
draft.
Even we took him late.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now, so I think it has more to do with the type of player he is. Um, he's not flashy. You know what I mean? Even though he could jump out the gym, but he's not breaking players down like a Kai Jones. You look at him and you look at all the potential. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
can he be a Lamar Odom or something of that? Like, this guy is a real throwback center, and I
Right.
think the league has kind of changed, but
So
the
that could be it.
Knicks value that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like certain
Right.
teams still value that.
Right. Gotcha. Walter White.
I
Walter,
love
my
it.
man. My man.
I love it.
Mitch is one of the few players that boxes out, creating opportunities on the boards for the rest of the team. And then he had another one that said how he and Mitch is a beast on the offensive boards. I mean, last year he was, before the injuries. This year, not so much. You know, he's not 100%. So I don't want to get too down on Mitch. He's not 100%, but he's not a beast on the offensive boards that like we're used to him being. He's not that alley-oop threat that we're used to him being, and he doesn't block shots like he used to. And part of it is that he's injured and he's not 100%. I don't mind them signing him. I don't know if I would give him the max. I know I would not give him the max.
One thing about Mitch though, I agree. He's the best. He boxes out the best out of probably everybody on the team, maybe Taj. But
Mhm,
he's not getting the rebounds and stuff like he used to.
mhm,
But he's using his size a whole lot better than ever. You know what I mean? The past 2 years.
mhm.
So last year we saw that improvement where his blocks went down a little bit, but he was stopping shots. Excuse me, with his he was deterring guys without necessarily blocking shots.
Right.
Now I'm noticing he's boxing out, but he's like tipping the ball to himself a lot more, which he didn't do before. He's like multitasking more in the paint when he boxes out. Before he was boxing out, somebody else had to come get it. He was making sure his man didn't get it. Now he's actually still fighting for that rebound. It's a slow grind with him. He'll get
It
there.
is. It is. Shout out to Ghetto Intellect. Mitch is an elite rebounder and defender that is
Stop it,
worth his
Gi.
weight in gold.
Stop
I
it,
mean,
Gi.
I think at one point I thought he was. He's not this year. But again, it could just be like I said, the injury, him adjusting to the weight, and maybe he will go back to that. But I don't see him be. I don't think he was ever an elite rebounder. He
No,
never averaged double figures. In
Mm-mm.
rebounding. If he might have been an elite offensive rebounder at one point. And he was a really, I mean, if not great, very, very good pick and roll defender. Um, this season he's just not the same. The Knicks are going to have a tough decision. Are they going to go by him regaining his form and play him the max, or look elsewhere? I just have a quick question about the front office though, because it's been almost this is just the second year. Any thoughts on the front? Any thoughts on the front office? I mean, we talk about Tibbs a lot. The front office to me they playing scared. Like I don't know if they have something in the works, and so they're trying to make sure the contracts are good and that sort of things. I just hope they don't turn into the Boston Celtics with just
Nah.
all of these assets and just
Mm-mm.
not pulling the trigger.
Mm-mm.
only
I,
thing I'm
I
gonna say, Queen, is they better have something in the works because they had me waiting all this time.
For the
Go ahead,
off
Tom.
season, right?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Tom. I just
I think they have something in the works. I think they have not nothing solidified, but I think they have a big board. I think they have uh objectives and projections. So if this happens, we could go this route. If this happens, we could go this route. And we like this guy too. We might have to pursue him hard. Hard. Um, I think they have that, and I like the front office. I like what they've done. I don't think they've made many mistakes. You could argue
You know,
the Walker thing was a mistake, but even that, it wasn't something that you're. It wasn't something that they can't recover from. I think even
wasn't
with
catastrophic. It wasn't
even
catastrophic.
yeah,
right,
even with that, they could. I
right,
think they had a backup plan in
right,
place,
right.
and we're seeing that. Um, I like the front office. I think they've made nothing but savvy moves throughout these past 2 years, that I think that trend is gonna continue. We're gonna see more things from them that just gonna surprise us, shock us. Like, oh, where'd that come from? How they figure that out? Loopholes in rules. We've seen literally all types of tricks from them as far as front office moves in the past 2 years. So I think that trend has to continue. And they're live. They're It's okay if they make a mistake. You know what I mean? No
Right.
front office is
Right.
is perfect. So I think their
Right.
track record, as far as like savvy, successful moves and mistake, I think the ratio is in the win column more than the loss.
I mean, I think the jury is still out. I think the jury is still out on the front office. I mean, I would think that they structured the contracts the way they did, just in case something comes down the pike, they would be positioned to to take advantage of that. And I can appreciate that. I just thought that the decision making around the point guard position, if you saw this team last year and you didn't think this team needed a point guard, and that wasn't a priority for you at the start of free agency, I was pissed. I was not happy when they when they signed Kimba because of the question marks. Why do we have to go with question marks when we have cap space and draft picks and young players? Why do we have to go with question marks? Right? So
If
that was my issue with the front office this summer.
if they didn't go with Kemba and they held that 9 million, how much of that would have been available now, or would you have, Grant? And this is with hindsight.
Yes,
Do you
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
do you think it would have been better of them not making that decision to spend that money on Kemba and waiting for an opportunity with that money? I don't think it would have still been 9. I think it would have been a
No, it
little bit
wouldn't have
less,
been.
but
What I'm saying is the point guard position was the
should have been first
first
priority.
position to address in free agency, and then you work around after that, in my opinion.
I mean,
And on top of that, I think you should have overpaid if you needed to, either in money or in draft picks if there wasn't anybody in free agency and you had to go out and for trade. And Josh, I apologize to you because I remember we was on that show and you was pissed off and I was on you and I was like, well, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? And you was like, I don't care. Do something. And now I'm with you. I apologize. You were absolutely right. The Knicks had the cap space, they had the picks, and they had young players. You go out and you address that need first, even if you had to overpay money wise, or even in a trade,
I
if you had to overpay with a pick. Why are we stockpiling it?
I
You
think the
know?
only other option route
Mm-hmm.
would have
Mm-hmm.
literally been what the Bulls did, and it may have worked, but I don't know if it would have. I don't know if that I wanted both of them, Ball and DeRozan, and people weren't very high on them, and they're looking like a good tandem along with Levine, obviously in Chicago. But I also think those two guys fit Chicago a little bit better than those two guys next to Randall, because now you're talking about two more guys. Again, they're probably more ball dominant than
Right.
uh Fournier and
Yeah.
Walker,
And I will say that I'm not sure Randall would have gave up the ball for Ball.
and that's what I mean.
I
That's
don't even
that's
the coaching would have had to said, I
and
don't
that's
think he would have gave up the ball
and that's what I mean.
for
And I think he
Lonzo.
would have been hesitant with DeRozan, maybe because of DeRozan's stature and success, through over the years. He wouldn't have been, but it would have been bad for Randall because Randall would have had to do what you want for it to work.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Which is
Mhm.
give up that responsibility, try to get some easy scores, and be that leading scorer. You know what I mean?
I just think, when people say Randall would have to do this, Randall would have to do that. I think Randall is a team player. Randall would do whatever the team needs to do to win. Right now, what the team needs is someone to distribute the basketball, and that's what he's doing. People don't like it, but we have no one else to do that. So I think if DeRozan would have came here and Ball would have came here, the offense would have been much more fluent enough, and Randall would have been receiving the basketball, getting in his spots, and becoming a more efficient player. But because we don't have that player on this roster, he has to do what he has to do. So, I mean, it's easy to say all this stuff now, but the point is we don't have a point guard, and the front office failed to address that need in the offseason. You know, we can try to look at it any other way, but that's just what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. Appreciate you guys for being with us. We're going to end with the next week review. It's almost like we was doing a whole different show, right? So now let's get back with next week. So Tuesday,
Oh
um,
boy.
we're at Brooklyn. Brooklyn is 14-6. They're first in the conference. They lost one game. I'm not sure if they played tonight. And they're 7-3 over their last 10. We were 0-3 against them last year. We played them once at home, twice away. Wanted to, not egregious, 5 points, 2 points, 7 points. They're playing very well, still without Kyrie. Thursday, Chicago is. We would have seen Chicago 3 times December 4th, right? They're
All right,
13-8. I'm not sure if they played tonight. Not including tonight if they played. Fifth in the conference. Lost one. They kind of come back down to earth, 5-5, over the last 10. And as you know, this year, 1-1. We played them both times in Chicago. We won the first one. They won the second one. Vucevic is back off of protocol. He's playing. Then Saturday, Denver is in town. That's an early game, 1 p.m., 12-1. They're 9-10, 10th in the conference. I'm not sure if they did play tonight. I don't know if they won or lost, but prior to the night tonight, they had lost 6 in a row, and they were 4-6 over their last 10. Um, they beat us twice last year, home and away, and it wasn't pretty. 89-114 at home, 97-113 away. Any thoughts on and predictions for this upcoming week of games?
Yeah, Josh.
So Brooklyn, first and foremost, Brooklyn. They offensively they rank.
I do want to say that the Joker was out. He was out for a big part, and he's back. Yeah.
Okay. Brooklyn. I just want to say Brooklyn offensively they put up some of the same offensive numbers as far as rankings are concerned as the Suns. I think they're second in the NBA in points per game, third in assists per game, stuff like that. So they moved the basketball despite not having Kyrie Irving. Their offense is just at a different level right now. And I think having LaMarcus Aldridge in there is definitely a plus for them. He's a mid-range killer. Of course, Harden and Durant are just going to do what they do. So I think the game will be close against Brooklyn, but I don't expect us to win that game. Chicago, I think we're going to bounce back against them. I think we'll come back. I think we'll perform well. I think Randall and RJ will both have some good games. So I'm looking forward to that one. And Denver's without Murray and then without MPJ. I think that is definitely a winnable game. Definitely a winnable game. I know people are going to look at Jokic and say that's how Randall should be playing. If Randall had IQ like that and this and that, the Knicks would be this and that. But he's not. Julius Randle's not Nikola Jokic. He's a MVP caliber for a reason. But I still think the Knicks pull that game out. I think we have more weapons than them at this current point in time. So I'm going to say 2-1 over the next 3. We'll lose the game against Brooklyn and win the next 2.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I could keep my prediction streak going. And I'm going 3-0.
Wow.
3-0. I think we get up for this game against Brooklyn the same way we got up for the Atlanta Hawks. I think we was waiting for the Hawks, and I think we want to prove something against the Nets as well. And then same mentality with Chicago. We beat them first. They beat us. I think we want to prove something to them as far as we improved. They improved, but we improved too, and we're building off something that from last year. So we have I think a little bit more momentum, and I think Denver's gonna actually be the toughest game.
Wow.
I think Jokic, does what Jokic does, but I think we find a way to squeak that one. So, but I'm going 3-0. I think
Wow.
the new starting point guard for the for the New York Knicks makes it difficult to change things up.
Fabian Williams said Burke's gonna give Harden fits. Do I hear foul trouble?
Hey, he just might. Harden is not the same player since they came with that foul, that them foul rules or whatever. So he just
And
might.
he got to defend him. Got to defend him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Josh. I think we'll be, 2-1. I do think we lose that game to Brooklyn, but I hope I'm wrong. I think it is a winnable game. I just think they got two of the best plays in the league right now. Even though, like you said, Harden is not playing great, but Durant is on he's on another level. I'm not sure who's guarding him. Um, you know, um, but Harris is out. He got injured today, so he'll be out for a few months. But that
Blake is
means Patty
situational.
Mills, right, steps up. I think we'll beat Chicago in the Garden, even though our record isn't great in the Garden. I think we're turning that around. I think we will beat Chicago. Vucevic is back. The thing with playing Vucevic, you never know between Mitch and Noel. One is here one game, the other one is not here. I think Gibson is back, correct?
Questionable.
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 All right, fine. Yeah, that whole center position we having issues with,
We need
and
them
I
all.
yeah, and I think we beat Denver, so I think it's 2-1. I like our chances against Brooklyn. I just think they're gonna win. Ultimately, I think they'll win. Any last words before we get out of here?
This was an epic episode of the Queen's Court. I gotta say, um, I don't think
Appreciate
I've
you.
been on one for 2.5 2 or 2 hours 15 minutes.
Right.
For Queen's Court in particular. I love doing this content thing with you guys, man. Appreciate you having me on. Shout out to the chat as always, Josh. Appreciate you as always. Yo, Black, it's time.
Yeah, salute Queen Tony. Always a pleasure getting on. Thankfully, I'm off this week, so I can get some sleep tonight. Even though I'm staying up late, here with you guys. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to the Knick game tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be at the pregame and postgame live show that you guys have going on in Manhattan tomorrow. I can't make it up there this time, but I'm sure one of these days I'll get up there and I'll make sure I plan it and I'll come up and definitely be there and meet some of you guys. I'll meet you guys in person. I haven't even met you guys yet in person, so looking forward to that. Did an episode of the controversy earlier with my
Yes.
man Rafi Diaz, got a Moses Elijah. Definitely check that out. Chat whenever you have the opportunity to. And please leave some comments because I know y'all be commenting in the chat, but I would like to follow up with the conversation. So in the comment section, just go ahead and put some comments down there. Let me know what you think, and I'll definitely respond promptly. So Queen, thanks a lot. And when you sign off, don't forget to play the intro again. So you know.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
Play that first, then
No, so, say your thing and then play it and then end it.
all right, cool. Um, yeah, I appreciate you guys, and my apologies to Divine and Cornerstone. Apparently, I sent them the wrong link, so I apologize. But I would have loved to have you guys on as we did this 20 game review, and I don't know, it might have been a 4 hour show, but I'm all for difference of opinions. I appreciate the chat for you guys rocking with us, whether it's this show, MBK, Knicks and Bruises, the controversy, the NBA report with Ron Sticknell, still Nick fans, and John. Appreciate you rocking with us. If you can, please, I'm going to be at Legends with MBK, Sim tomorrow for the pregame, the watch party, the post game is going to be a lot of fun. So I really hope to see you guys. Be easy. Wait, hold on. Let me get
Get that win.
that.
Get that win.
Be easy. I'll see you guys next week.